got it ready. I'm ready. Oh no, I didn't put my lipstick. I didn't put my makeup on. I realized I don't have any lipstick on, but I got some handy. So where is it at? I got it right here by me, right by my coffee. It's afternoon. It's after, let's see, it's 1:29. This is how I do my makeup, just like this. That's it. I'm done. Now, of the morning, I put some cream on my face, but I don't do it of the evening. And I wash my face every morning, and I don't wash it before I go to bed. I don't get all the oils. I use an oil of the morning, a creamy oil. And I use that kind that uh, Heirloom sells it. Heirloom, she's on YouTube, Becky. Heirloom soaps. You can look her up. And she sells it. She's got a little factory right at her home. And she sent me a gift of it. And I've been using it. I believe it's working. Thank you, Becky. Okay. Today my verse is this. We've had such a good time today. Enjoyable is what I call it. But I was thinking about Romans 8:28. And I looked it up to just make sure I get it right. And this verse says, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose. And I'm going to tell y'all something that we've been looking for a motorhome. You know, a small one, maybe 26 foot, that you drive with air conditioning and a generator. So we've been looking alongside the road. We've been looking at Facebook and Marketplace and everywhere. And there is a guy that lives about 4 or 5 blocks from us that we turned by that gave me a lift chair that's right here in this room that I don't need anymore but he gave it to, it's a beautiful chair, and James has got it over there in his office, and it's great. His mother used it and she passed away, and he just set it out front and says, everyone who wants it can have it. And he's done a lot of stuff like that. And James, I don't know what all James and I have gained because we pass his house every night on our way home. So yeah, we've been looking everywhere. Every place we go, we look alongside the road. You know why I wear a scarf? It's to hide my turkey neck. That is something I'm not proud of. So there it is. You don't see it now. And I don't even like to look at it myself. So we was driving home the other day. Now they've got it's his husband and wife. The kids are grown, I reckon. And they've got one of those really nice campers type. You know, it's like a big van, except it's a big tall thing, and it's got everything in it you need. And they've built a big tall garage to go on top of it because it's tall. And they've had that ever since we've been here. So we passed their house the other day, and in that garage, and over to the side was his black camper, and inside he had a little motor home. You know, a regular, like I used to have a 24 foot, and I used to have a 19 foot. I have owned quite a few motor homes in my time. When you're 91, you've been around the block a time or two. I'm not going to talk too long today, I don't think. So, and who knows? So anyway, we passed it the other day, and I said, James, did you see that? Our friend who gives us stuff all the time has got our motorhome sitting in his garage. I was being funny. He said, I didn't see it. So next time we went by, I said, go slow. You want to see our motorhome that we're going to get. Now, James bought a pickup truck from him because this guy buys and sells. And James loves that pickup truck, and it's a 2000 Tundra. Runs like a top. And James just loves it. He uses it as his work truck all the time. The air conditioning is out on it right now, but he just rolls the window down and goes on. So anyhow, I said, I saw it. So when we went by next time, he slowed down and we looked. He said, that is the kind we want. I said, James, God has bought us our motorhome right here a few blocks from home. That's it. You know that man buys things and sells them. And so James got out, he parked, got out, and went and knocked on the door. The guy wasn't home. His wife was there. So he said, what are you going to do with that motorhome? She says, well, he hasn't decided yet, but we're fixing it up. So we're going to fix it up. He said, okay. So we left. He don't even know how long it is or what year it is or anything. So later on, James saw the lady out, and he stopped and he said, well, is it ready yet? And she said, no, not yet. We're still working on it. Well, he told her when we stopped by that if he decided to sell it, we want to be first in line. She said, okay, I'll tell him. So when I go past it now, I say, in faith believing, and if it don't happen, it don't happen. That's a nice looking motorhome that you have found for us that's just a few blocks away. Thank you, Lord. I reckon that'll happen. If that should happen, I'll take pictures and send you. I'll do a video. But you know, the Bible says you have not because you ask not, or you ask amiss. And he can say no, but a lot of times, see, the thing of it is you don't know till you ask, and you don't know what the answer might be. You can, okay, so it says no. Well, then you go on to something else. But we have looked everywhere, and that's the kind we want. So, we'll see what happens. I remember how when I first learned about being thrifty, and I've always been thrifty. I learned it when a neighbor, this lady and her husband lived where the school bus stopped and picked us up every day, and when they moved there in a little 2-room shack, she would let us in the house, in that 2-room house, and wait, and we wouldn't be cold or rained on till the bus came. And she had friends in New Albany, and they went to New Albany a lot, and she went to the Goodwill. And she would pick up maybe a blouse or a skirt or something, and she'd say, you know, I bought this skirt and it don't fit me. Do you think it would fit you? She says, it's only 50 cents. And I could get 50 cents, and it would fit me. That sweet lady was buying me things that would fit me that I could afford, which helped me when I was in high school, especially, you know, up in the higher grades. And she would just buy me stuff, and Mom and Dad would give me $1 or $2 or whatever. And I got blouses, and I got skirts, and sometimes a sweater. And, you know, sweaters were so popular. The only thing is I didn't have anything to really enhance that sweater like a lot of the girls did. You know, when you were a 32A, there ain't nothing there. Of course, later on, that changed. Well, here comes my little girl. This is baby girl. She's coming up in Mommy's lap. See her? Here she is. Let's see. Your baby girl. You can see her tail. No, this is James's cat. I can only tell them apart because of their tail. Now, see her tail? Look at this. See how it's 2 or 3 different colors? Now, mine only has a little white tip on the end. And this one has a little less red on her forehead. But I was telling you about how I learned to be thrifty, and it was her. And she says, I get stuff at the Goodwill. I just go there and shop, and sometimes I find things that, you know, won't fit me. She was being nice. She was a sweet, kind lady. And she was Beulah May, my best friend's stepmother. Her daddy had married this woman and had 2 children. And so Beulah May had 2 half-brothers, or maybe 3. And, you know, she loved them. She never lived with them. Beulah May lived with her grandmother. Her mother couldn't keep her. So Beulah May was raised by her grandmother, and she was a good friend. So when I moved to California, and I needed a buggy, I needed something to put the twins in that I could go to the store, because you can't carry 2 twins and go grocery shopping on your hip. I could hold both of them on my hip, though. It was surprising how I could do that. But so I asked around, and I said, is there a thrift store anywhere around that I could go shopping within distance that I could walk? And they said, yes, there is, because there was a lot of Navy people, Air Force people, but mainly Navy, because it was a base where the ship would be in close. So I found out where it was, and I went. And don't you know, that's just like the Lord going before you and making those crooked places straight. There was a buggy, an old-timey buggy would be now, but it was very much being used in that day and age. And it was big enough to hold the babies and my groceries. And it was only like $10. Well, I could afford that. And it would have run me $60 or $80 if it had been new, which it wasn't. So I bought that buggy. And don't you know, it was perfect for the twins. I had room for my groceries and everything else. And then I decided I needed a car. Now, Buddy's still overseas. He's not home. And so I needed a car. So my girlfriend, her husband had a car. It was like a Plymouth or a Dodge, only one seat in front. And then you lift in the back, there was nothing. It was just a stick shift. She said, he's got this car. He's getting rid of it. He only wants $300. I said, I got that saved. I'll take that car. And I couldn't drive. So I took the car. So Nancy, my friend, taught me how to drive. And I learned how to drive that stick shift. And I loved it. What I did was, we didn't have any place to put those babies and keep them safe. I just laid them in the back floor, behind the seats, in the floor, on a blanket, and went wherever I wanted to go. And then when I got that buggy, I could load that buggy in the back also. It was a good size. It's not a trunk. It's just where no back seat was. And I'd put that buggy in, and we'd go to places and do things, and till Buddy came home. And when they were about 5, 6 months old, I took them to Knoxberry Farm. And there was this black guy said, are they twins? Of course, they're twins. And people say that. You want to say, no, they're not twins. They're just little sisters or something. You want to give a smart aleck answer. I didn't do that. But you're tempted. Because it's such a silly question when they're identical. And they look exactly alike and you can't hardly tell them apart. The only way I could tell them apart is one of them's face was a little more rounder than the other one. Karen had a rounder face. Kathy's face was a little more narrow. So anyway, Karen looked up at that black guy, and he was smiling, talking to her, and you're a cutie. And she said, Dada. I said, no, honey, not Dada. That's just a sweet friend. That's just a friend. And he laughed. He thought that was so funny. He was not Dada, but he was a nice young man in the Navy. A lot of people went to Knoxberry Farm. I really enjoyed Knoxberry Farm out there. There was a lot of things I enjoyed. And before the babies were born now, one of my friends, let's see, I wore that hat yesterday. Where is it? What did I do with it? Right here it is. Let me get it. This hat that I got yesterday, I wore this. And living in Kentucky, let's see, life in Kentucky with Debbie said, well, you look like Queen for a day. And I said, I answered her in a comment, and I said, well, do you know what? Back in 1953 or 52, right in there sometime, me and my girlfriend, Nancy, who was my best girlfriend, we decided to take the train or the bus or something to Hollywood and go visit some of the shows. So we went, and we decided you could visit Queen for a day. And you could go in and fill out a paper. If you had something you wanted, you could ask for it. Now, I've told this in my other video one time, I think. But it reminded me of when I was on Queen for a Day. And you know that, I think his name was Jack. And he was so good at what he did. So, you know what? You write it down, and then somebody reads it real quick. And I was chosen to be on the show. And so they called me up, Clarine, come on up. So I went up, and he says, tell me your story. So I told him about my daddy, who had TB, had to have one lung removed, and now he was invalid and mainly at home and couldn't work and couldn't do anything. And he liked to sew, and he had an old treadle sewing machine, and it would be wonderful if he could get a good sewing machine and if we could send him one. You know what? I didn't win, but I was second runner up, and I got that sewing machine for my daddy. And it was a FOF. If you know what a FOF is, I think they run $1,200 or more back then even. One of the best sewing machines you can buy. I've had sewing machines, but I never had a FOF. But Daddy loved that so much. And he made quilts and all kinds of things, and it kept him occupied, and it made he died young when he was 48 years old. And I still miss him. He was my daddy. You know, you never get done missing your parents when they go on. And he was too young to go on. I think I was about 26 when he passed. And I was pregnant with Kim at the time, my baby daughter. Because we went back home. We didn't decide we was going to stay in California, but we didn't. So anyway, I also won vertical blinds for my apartment. Now, I lived in an apartment in housing, you know, what you can afford, public housing. And one day there was a knock on my door, and they said, "We're here to put your blinds up." I said, "What?" "Yes, sir, Bob Jack Chicken Tree." And so they can you imagine, back in 1953, vertical blinds had just came in, I think. I never heard tell of them. And they came right on in and said, "Where do you want them? We got every what you need." And they I had them put in the kitchen and the bedroom and the other side. And they were nice. So I was tickled. That's the way, things like that have happened to me all my life. I remember when Kathy and Karen we were living in our new home, our 3-bedroom brick, bath and a half. I added the half after we moved into it, and I was so thrilled to have a brick house. You didn't have to paint it or something, and we lived in a little old 2-bedroom that was rough, but this was a 3-bedroom. Kim could have her room. We had not adopted Dennis yet, and we had 1 bedroom for the girls, and they had to sleep in one, you know, like full-size bed, which took up a lot of space. And I was babysitting. I went to babysitting so I could make the mortgage on the house, which was higher than what we had been paying. And this one lady said, "Could you use some twin bunk beds?" I said, "I sure could." So Kathy and Karen got bunk beds, and they used them till they got married and went to college, and that was so handy. And Kathy slept on top as I remember, and Karen on the bottom, and that went on, and that was such a blessing. So many blessings. Oh, I better shut up. The Lord, and we're going out to Hardensburg, and I'm going to grab me a little nap before we go. But James got so many things that he can use this morning. So anyway, I want to tell Billie Jean, you know, just Billie Jean and me. We tried to FaceTime the other day and never did get it done, but he was telling me that he bought a room air conditioner, and that's what he and his mama use now. And he said it's amazing how much less electricity they use because they just closed off where they're at. They put quilts up over the doors, and he says it's amazing. We was down at the Methodist thrift store this morning, and they had one of them room air conditioners in there. They run around $600. And James got it for a real good price, and he's going to use it out at that new house he's working on at Sellersburg because it don't have central air, and he can put it in wherever. It's a 12.5, and you can plug it right into the wall, but he's got to buy the hose because you got to give it some air, but that only runs $20 on Amazon. So thank you, Billie Jean, for telling me about that. And check he's a cook. He cooks all the time, and he's good at it. And he's got the most wonderful recipe for slaw and fried chicken, but he makes his own special spices for his fried chicken. I just go buy Kentucky Fried Chicken stuff, you know, and dip it in that. And I fried some chicken the other day that just turned out delicious. Absolutely delicious. Yummy, yummy I think I have 2 wings left. But we just had a little snack. We went out to the American Legion and had breakfast this morning. We took time out from yard sailing, and they were everywhere. I didn't take too many videos this morning, shorts. I just wasn't in the mood. I was having too much fun to fool with it. But I did do two, and I did it. I met this guy. He's on TikTok, and he does artwork, and he's got like 60,000 followers on TikTok, and I didn't know how many I had. I had not looked. I got 59,000 or 57,000 followers on TikTok also, but I don't do much on TikTok. One time I did a live on TikTok, it was an accident, and I had so many people say, "Hi, Grandma Lois, hi, Grandma Lois." I asked them, I said, "How do I turn this off?" Because I didn't know how, and it was an accident to start with. But thank you, Billie Jean, for telling us about that air conditioner, and I looked him up. It's an LG, and he can cool that rooms where he's working out there, because honey, doing that house is going to take a long time. Now, I thought I was going to talk 5 minutes. Forget that stuff. That did not happen. That's life, I just laugh and go on. What good does it do? You just don't know. And I'm enjoying this scarf. I was thinking, I'm going to at 4 o'clock, I'm going to the reunion for my high school. And I thought, what shall I wear? Us women always think about stuff like that. And I thought, well, I'll wear a little red today and look good to be 91. And you know how much makeup I wear, and I won't get too close to anybody so they can't see my wrinkles. I do have wrinkles, but they're not bad. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so tickled that, what with the help of wigs, y'all know I wear wigs. Wigs helps 100%. I'm telling you, because you don't have to go get a permanent. You don't have to do anything. Just pop it on and fluff it up, which I keep a hairbrush handy. Or you can just do it with your fingers, There, I'm sharing my secrets with you. And I like this color lipstick. So, anyhow, God bless y'all. It's been fun. Maybe I'll make a couple of little videos and shorts when I go out to the high school reunion. Me and one other guy's going to be the oldest ones there. He was in a class ahead of me, but I quit. Anybody can come now. So, talk to you later. Walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. Talk to Jesus. He loves you. He's waiting to hear from you. Some of you he's already heard from, and some of y'all are saying, "Grandma, we're already walking that path." And I say, thank you, Jesus, for that. Love you. Bye-bye.